when the war was over, we went up in northern China, went up the Haiho River till we get the tents in and couldn't go any further because of the bridge. We used to go back and forth bringing people in from the bigger ships for liberty. That was in 44.
1944?
Yeah.
World War II?
Yep. One of the engines quit, and I had to shoot a line over to the other ship that was with us. And then we hauled over a line, a heavy line, then a cable so they could tow us. And I'm up on the bow looking over, and the cable's going by and went right by a mine. We were lucky it went by. 43 to 51. My buddy and I signed up in December of 43.
So, what's your name?
Joe Kaczynski, Kosinski. I have a great-grandfather that was actually shot in the buttocks at Gettysburg, and his name's on a plaque there. My father was in World War II. Just a military background.
Yeah.
I was never in combat.
Never?
Never.
Lucky.
Yeah, I went in 1972.
Were you drafted?
No, I enlisted. At that point in time, Vietnam was ending up. Okay? And I enlisted for 2 years, guaranteed in Colorado Springs. My third year was really interesting because they were bringing people back from Vietnam at that time, and they were bringing them to our posts. And these guys were having a rough time, they really were. And at that time, I wanted no part of the country, nothing. But just so happened when I got orders to go overseas, I went to the transfer station, and yes, I was supposed to go to Vietnam, but since they were bringing so many people back and the war was ending up, they sent me to Korea. And I went to a weapons storage facility. And these guys, they were there for literally 2 and 3 years. Their time had expired years ago, but the Army wouldn't discharge them because of Vietnam. So the group that I was with, we went over there and replaced them, and they were able to go home, finally.
These poor Vietnam soldiers who came back, we had to get out of the uniform. We didn't want to look like we were in the military. We didn't want our shoes to be shot.
Even though they knew that it wasn't your choice?
But then it was Vietnam, right? A war that the U.S. felt we shouldn't have been in, okay? I had no decision on that in life. You get drafted.
What year were you drafted?
1965. And I was in Nam in 1966.
And you were 17?
17, going to be 18 duties ago. Back then, we were losing the war so bad, they just kept feeding us in there, right? Feeding the puppies in there in a losing war. And we lost in Vietnam. We never won that at all. All the lives that we lost, unfortunately. Young guys, old guys, straight military guys, those who loved it, and there was those that loved war. I did love it. That's where the ones were all screwed up when they came home. Big time. Okay? My personal opinion, okay, on Vietnam in the U.S., it wasn't to save the South Vietnamese from the North Vietnamese that they have their own fights going. My gut feeling is probably true. It was a geographic position for the U.S. wanted to have because where Vietnam is located. So we would have geographically control over Russia, right, all these different areas. We could put sites in, we could put missile areas and all that type of thing. The Viet Cong, that was they owned that country. They lived underground. They were down buried underneath. Pop up like you see on TV, and pop the hood up and come up, right? And go trip, and they go back down. We couldn't find them, right? Because it was just like everything was grass and everything else. You're talking of hundreds of these, and they would live in they would live in just caves. It was an environment that we weren't. I'm the youngest of 9. I remember when I got drafted and went to basic training. I remember the drill sergeant saying, "Tell your folks to get rid of the toilet because your ass belongs to us." I'm only. I want to go to a bar, get a couple beers. There's things that happen to us guys back then out of our control. To what the stress we went through as young boys. Really, young kids. And the beauty of the military is that you judge a person because you all look the same. Hair shaved, you got the same uniform on, and you judge them by who they are. Because of where their heart was, okay? And not how you didn't judge them. You know what I'm saying? We all do it. It's the nature of our personalities to say, look, and women and guys who do the same thing. Look at that apple. Jesus Christ, what an idiot. She might be from the trailer park. But there are things that you guys need to know.
Right.
To understand that what was Vietnam? Why did everybody hate these guys when they came back? Why were these guys scared to look like they were in the military? Well, right now, God bless these soldiers today. And they have the TV news, and they got the guy coming in, and the wife, and the family, and the balloons, and we had to hide. We literally had to hide, get rid of our uniform, and make sure our youth to understand these wars all this country's been through.
Is it the 15th or the 5th of June? Says the bullet was deflected by his vest
Into his throat?
yeah.
Into his throat, all right.
Yeah, in the left part of his neck.
All right, we had, they were doing security out in Baghdad, and it was Mark Ballou, and I'd like to say the other guy, I can't remember the other guy's name. No, you go ahead.
Okay.
They were doing security at a bank, and a guy came up and shot both of them. One guy took a shot around right to his chest, and the other guy took one and it deflected up into his neck, and it wound up going and doing some severe damage to the man. And it was terrible because the guy was killed as he was running away, but Mark was one of our medics, and he was out there doing a patrol. So when we heard that we were getting wounded, and everybody gets on the alert, and you're waiting, and then they bring this guy they took him out of out of the back of a civilian ambulance, and they were rolling him down toward us, and we were like, holy shit, that's Mark. Excuse me.
Right.
It's kind of rough when when you're working with the infantry and you get to know the guys. It's kind of hard, but you can kind of disengage yourself because he's not one of yours. But to see your own medic that severely injured, and we actually had to paralyze him so that we could breathe for him. We had to intubate him and flew him right out. So he was one of our first casualties. He was one of the first, and he made it back home. I spoke to him when I was on leave.